Hi everyone, it's Katish. I wanted to explain to you something that is important for the way that my work is heading. I'm creating a new playlist here on YouTube, which is going to be called Talking with Archangel Zadkiel. Now, to be honest with you, I find this really quite nerve-wracking because this is a new direction and it's me learning and sharing my learnings along the road rather than waiting for perfection and professional level quality. What I want to do is to show you through these series of videos how you can learn to connect with energy, the different kinds of energy, and then you will see how, with the guidance of the angels, the archangels, and my spirit team, be they spirit guides, angels, teacher angels, animals, or other light beings or entities, that I learn the difference between the types of energy, the things they want to teach me that will be relevant to you, and also how I eventually get to being what the world calls channeling. So I've always been interested in channeling as a concept. For probably the last 5 or so years, I have watched a lot of footage of other people channeling, and I do understand that there are 2 types of channeling. There is the awake channeling, which is like me talking to you, where simply you perceive energy. Some people can see the energy, so they look up to where the energy is, and then they come back to the camera, they get the conversation, comes through their mind, and then they talk to the camera and relay the information. That's what I call like the awake. It's like an awake meditation. You're awake talking. And my favorite example of somebody who I've watched and really looked at when she channels this way is Courtney Dillon. And Courtney was on my podcast in the very first season, I think it was. She's also one of the key people on Channeling Eric, which is a fabulous YouTube channel. The second kind of channeling is trance channeling, which is where I thought I might be going, but no. Before I finished, at the end of season 9 on the podcast, I said that I was taking a break and I was coming back with something very exciting for season 10. Now, season 10 has been wonderful. It's all been about midlife. And we've been talking about travel and midlife hormones and midlife spiritual awakenings. But that wasn't my original intention. My original intention was for it to be channeling Archangel Zadkiel. However, I wasn't ready for that. And as a team, we have chosen for me not to go down the trance channeling route. Mostly for reasons which will become evident as I share this. But for me, I wanted to share ways that you could learn to perceive energy, and it's a lot more difficult to only perceive and communicate with energy when you have to go into a really deep theta state and have somebody around to supervise to make sure that you're okay. So my favorite people in trance channeling is where basically you say bye-bye and your personality to an extent exits the room and the spirit comes in. So Jamie Butler channels Grace and Maitland. I love watching Grace and Maitland come in and share their wisdom, but Jamie literally has somebody on the other side of the computer to monitor her health and to make sure she's okay and to help her come back into consciousness. Jamie says goodbye and Maitland and Grace enter and exit. And then Esther Hicks is obviously probably the first person that I became aware of, actually a lot longer than 5 years ago. It's funny how sometimes you can be interested in a topic for a really long time and not realize exactly how long it's been. So a very long time ago, I started watching and devoured, I think, everything that Esther Hicks did for a long time. And more recently, I have been interested in Tom Kenyon, and he's an amazing sound healer and student of the brain, very qualified in the areas of brain and he channels the Hathors, but he's awake, but in a meditative state, and he would have his own explanation. And the sound of the Hathors comes through him, through his voice, not in words, but in music. So they're the different kinds of channeling. So I'm not channeling yet, and I thought I was, but the way that the angels have described it to me is we are working towards being a channeler. I have some authenticity issues, so I am very upfront and need to be very authentic with you. At the moment, I'm going to call it talking to Zadkiel, and you will see the difference when you look back in days, years, and months to come between me having a chat with Zadkiel, because it's like having a conversation with a friend. It's a bit like when you hear me talking to Archangel Michael in the regression sessions that I have on the podcast. When I have a client with me in a regression session and they say, oh, Archangel Michael's here and he said to tell you this. And it's very boisterous, almost like brothers. Obviously, I'm not Archangel Michael's brother, but it's like that chummy camaraderie relationship, which right now as Katish, I don't understand, but the greater Katish, the soul, understands completely why. One of those mysteries of life that is revealed once you go back home. My first attempts I've already recorded, and you'll see that they are full of laughter and tears. And the way that we will go through this is to explain to me as I'm explaining to you. And sometimes I cry, sometimes I laugh, sometimes I get my own personal realizations that are private, and I have questioned whether to publish them. But the point is that they want me to be authentic with you so that you can see that I have a rigorous personal scrutiny and authenticity to making sure that what I publish is legitimate. I also have been learning the process to understand once you open your energy to receive these messages, there's lots of energy in the world, and there's lots of thought forms and beings that are excited and want to get into your space and communicate with you. But when you set the intention, the framework to communicate with only one being, and in this case it will be Archangel Zadkiel, then you have to set strict boundaries so that you are using the words of Archangel Zadkiel and not somebody else. And if you have had a particular journey like I have had in this lifetime with understanding the darkness and now moving towards understanding the lightness in a really specific and detailed manner, just moving energy, then you need to understand that there will always be the possibility that somebody tries to interrupt your thoughts. And for me, the angels are showing me to take deep breaths and to feel the energy. There it is, in my heart, which you can't feel, I don't think, but I can feel it. It's a very specific energy in my heart. And so if you see me taking deep breaths and recenting, it's just my way of checking who am I talking to, because the archangels come through the heart chakra. And I think that's all I want to say now, other than bear with me. And I hope you appreciate that this is a vulnerable moment for me to share my journey of learning to channel and being, quite frankly, very humble and gracious in the fact that I have been asked to do this and being overwhelmed that we are going straight to an archangel, to be honest with you. And Zadkiel is currently in 2024 not a widely known archangel, because we all tend to connect with Michael first. And so, yeah, it feels like a little bit of a big bold move. Anyway, as Zadkiel would say, as Katish would say, namaste. Thank you for joining me in this journey.